Interestingly, you too have also been reported under the new hate crime legislation, and it actually, for many Scots who've reported you, goes back to a speech you made in 2020 where you went through a whole series of important senior public posts in Scotland which are held by white people, and you made a very powerful point about how
white
so many important positions in Scotland are, and you said it's not good enough. Now, Scotland is 96% white, and there are some very active people, particularly on social media, who are saying Humza Yousaf's message was essentially racist. It was anti-white. And I, for one, feel that this is stirring up hatred against me as a white person. The police aren't interested. They say it's nonsense. They're certainly not going to investigate it. Yes. But under the new legislation, the police also have to, as I understand it, record it as a non-criminal hate incident, and you will be named. How do you feel about that?
So a couple of points to make. The description of those who reference that speech as hatred, I've not seen anybody who has described it in that way that isn't, frankly, part of the far right.
Oh, we're all in the far right. Everyone in the future was supposed to be famous. But no, we're all going to be far right for 5 minutes. Because you see, in the arena of Scottish politics, Humza Yousaf's actually caught in his own trap here, right? Entangled in a very web of hate speech laws that he himself has championed. The irony here, folks, is thicker, frankly, than a bowl of porridge left out on a cold Edinburgh morning. Yousaf's speech about whiteness, and saying it with such vehemence and frankly hatred, dare I use that word, of the Scottish leadership positions being held by white people, of course ruffled feathers. But when the birds have come home to roost, he labels his critics as far right. Well, isn't that just a convenient way to dismiss genuine concerns and, frankly, to actually bat away genuine outrage at overt racism? How can it be, if I was to stand up in the Scottish Parliament and say, list a whole load of positions that were held by black people, do you think I would last 2 minutes? Do you think the police wouldn't criminalise my speech there? Of course they would. It's the old, if you can't dazzle them with brilliance, baffle them with, well, you know the rest of that one. We've got the BBC doling out softball questions. This bloke here, I'm pointing the wrong way, doling out these questions like sweeties to a bairn, frankly, failing to actually challenge this far-right flannel by Humza Useless. It's a merry dance of mutual admiration while the tune of bias consistently plays on. And let's be absolutely clear, the accusation that the criticism equals extremism is a smear thicker than treacle, and frankly, it's just as bloody bitter, because you cannot pass off standing up in Parliament saying white, 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 and saying it like it's a really, really terrible thing to be, isn't worthy of condemnation. And what happened to this BBC Hardtalk that it's called? More like a wee bloody natter over tea. The BBC are basically performing fellatio on the First Minister of Scotland. When did fierce debate get traded for featherbedding those that were meant to hold to account? In today's Scotland, it strikes me that free speech is about as welcome as a lump of coal at a Greta Thunberg conference. And the BBC are the chief propagandists in this argument. Where are they in actually calling him out on this? Scotland is a 96, as he said, 96% white country. How is it not viewed as being perfectly acceptable that positions of power would be held by white people in a country that is predominantly a white nation? This isn't rocket science, but the BBC care more about diversity, equity and inclusion than they do anything else, even if that means the exclusion of you for being white. That's what this all boils down to. I'm sorry.